Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm extremely grateful to the organizers for giving me the opportunity to spend some time with all of you. First of all, our world, what we have inherited, is going to be dramatically different in the future what it was just 2 years ago. 100 years from now, when historians write about evolution of human society, there will be 2 chapters under which they will describe the evolution of human society. One is BC and second one is AC. BC is before COVID and AC is after COVID. COVID will disrupt everything what we do in our life, in our work, in what we do, how we do, every aspect of our life. As a doctor, I can only talk about the impact of COVID in my profession. Around 17, 18 years ago, when the only understanding about cloud was across the world was something what brings rain. I was sitting in this office seeing patients in remote locations of India and Africa using satellite provided by Indian Space Research Organization, 17, 18 years ago. And I treated more than 53,000 heart patients in remote locations, saved perhaps hundreds of lives. But telemedicine was illegal. A doctor is not supposed to prescribe medicines to a patient who he cannot touch. In spite of the best effort by every doctor, every leading hospital, including the government, and government actively promoting telemedicine for the last 17 years, it was still illegal. But COVID came in less than 2 weeks. Telemedicine got legalized. It was unthinkable. And today doctors see patients and treat them and prescribe medicines just looking at them on their mobile phone. That was unthinkable before COVID. I have no doubt that technology will disrupt our industry completely. It will go beyond recognition. I believe that the smart software will make smarter diagnosis than doctors in the next few years. And not in the distant future, maybe in the next 5 to 7 years' time, it will become legally mandatory for the doctors to get the second opinion from a software before starting the treatment. This is going to happen whether we like it or not. You can see the glimpse of it. Around 4 or 5 years ago, the Chief Justice of Uttarakhand High Court passed a judgment that in the state of Uttarakhand, no doctor should be allowed to prescribe medicines on pen and a paper, using the pen and paper. It is illegal. They have to use the digital prescription. Of course, that couldn't be implemented by the government for many reasons, but that gave us a glimpse of the future, that the society moves far, far ahead of what doctors want or even the technology wants. Why digital disruption is good for the world is because once you remove the pen and paper from the hands of doctors, nurses, and medical technicians and substitute it with a smart software, healthcare will become safer for the patients. Healthcare will become accessible. You don't need to see the doctor. You can see the doctor online instead of going to his clinic and waiting for hours together. In the process, healthcare will become affordable to everyone. So essentially, all the three requirements of healthcare will be expedited once we digitize healthcare. Now, talking about safety in healthcare, in one of the reports from Joint Commission of US, which accredits American hospital and some Indian hospitals, 65% of the sentinel events happening in the hospital, which leads to death most of the time, is because of the communication failure. Now, why the communication failure happens? It's because laboratory generates a report showing a high creatinine, which is indicator of a kidney failure. And the report doesn't reach the ICU for 3 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, because the paper has to move from the lab to the ICU. And even when it comes, nobody would have seen it. In between that, a doctor prescribes a group of medicine called nephrotoxic drugs. That is, drugs which can precipitate kidney failure on a patient with already high creatinine. You are bound to cause kidney failure and the consequences. Instead of the paper and a pen, if there was a smart software which brings the data from the machine, from the lab, directly to the doctor's phone, that precious life could have been saved. And this is what is called as a communication failure, leading to patients' accidents and once in a while death. Now, everyone thinks that hospitals are the safest places for the patients. That is not really the case. Let's look at American hospitals, which are perhaps the safest hospitals on the planet. If 200 patients spend just one night in American hospital, 1 in 200 dies due to medical error. Not medical negligence, medical error. Getting admitted to an American hospital is 10 times riskier than skydiving. Why? It's because the tools we use, the way we follow the protocol, they're all developed for the paper and a pen, not for the digital, smart digital world. If we push healthcare into the smart digital world, most of these medical errors can be prevented. Why US, with all the money they have, couldn't implement it? They have implemented maybe 10, 20 years ago, a digital virtual revolution. But those software called electronic medical records are not smart. They have just replaced the pen and a paper without adding the smartness to it, and without really understanding what the doctor wants. And in the process, most American doctors hate the electronic medical record. In fact, electronic medical records are blamed as one of the top 3 or 4 reasons for physician burnout. Instead of helping the doctor, instead of helping them to serve the patient better, they're an obstacle. Now, why doctors don't like the medical records? Doctors don't like the medical records because all these billion-dollar electronic medical records, they require a lot of typing. You have to type, and doctors are not designed by God to type. We don't like typing. If somebody can create an electronic medical record which can be used by tapping instead of typing. And if it is very intuitive, the doctors are generally artists. When they do something, they want to enjoy the process of doing, not only the outcome. This fact should be understood by the software engineers, that we want to enjoy the process of healing. So if you create a EMR and give us one 50-page manual how to use it, or ask us to attend classes for maybe 10, 20 or 70 hours, like some of the billion-dollar EMRs of US insist on, for a doctor to use those EMRs, they should spend 72 hours of training. We will throw the manual and the software and we get back to paper. We do not like to follow the instructions. We want it to be intuitive, like how an Apple product works. The other biggest problem is all these electronic medical records are designed for the desktop. Doctors look at the desktop 5 to 6 times in a day, but they look at the mobile phone 200 times in a day. So if you create your electronic medical record or EMR for the mobile first, then there will be a high degree of acceptance and use. Coming back to the industry, the healthcare industry, within the next few years, in the near future, when you enter a hospital, there will be reception, but there will not be receptionist. Whatever the receptionist is doing currently would have been done previous night before the patient had the appointment. And all the documents are sorted out by a receptionist talking to the patient on phone from home, and the entire history is taken by the nurse and it is entered to the EMR, and a patient gets the WhatsApp message in his phone, in his or her phone, just saying that your appointment is at 10 o'clock in the morning and this is the room number, you have to come. When they come there, doctor has all the patient's records in front of them and they start treating the patient. And when you walk into an intensive care unit at night, there won't be many intensivists. Intensivists will be managing the patients from home. Because in the near future, half the hospital beds will be ICU beds. You would have noticed the importance of ICU beds during COVID time. And that is going to be the norm in the future. Whatever, no patient will be admitted to the ward or a room, because whatever you can do to the patient in the ward or a room can be done at home. So if a patient spends the night, generally it is following an operation or a procedure or in the ICU. And entire details of the patient will be available in the doctor's phone. Last 1 year or about more than a year, I haven't visited the ICU, hardly ever visited the ICU, because I get the patient details, everything on my mobile phone. I go to bed at around 11 o'clock, and before I go to bed, I do the ICU rounds. I would have seen all my patients. At any given time, I don't have more than maybe 10, 15 patients in the ICU who had the heart operation. I finish the rounds. It takes me about 15 minutes. And I'm up at 4:30 in the morning and I finish the ICU rounds. Now, when I come to the hospital, I would have finished the entire ICU rounds and I know exactly which patient I'm going to see in the OPD. And everything is available in my phone. So essentially, hospital will look dramatically different. Today, every hospital has so many porters, that is girls or boys hanging around in the hospital, carrying one syringe or some file or a blood test or a blood bag or some stuff they carry from one point of the hospital to the other hospital. All that work will be replaced by robotic porters. These will be very inexpensive toy-like robots, which is programmed to go from point A to point B, and they'll keep on taking the stuff. Because in a situation like COVID, we simply cannot afford to have that many human beings working inside the hospital. And it's a matter of time before hospitals will have only the people who are going to touch the patient is going to be working. All the rest, support staff, most of them, will be working from home. And they will not be working for one hospital. They'll be working for multiple hospitals. And any disease you suffer from, whether it's a headache or a tummy ache or a heart attack or cancer, the first consultation of yours with the medical specialist will happen online. Now, what is the impact? The impact is most of the diseases will be diagnosed at a very early stage. Because when you describe your symptoms to a senior doctor on the other side, on your screen, one or two sentences of what you're complaining about, they have an idea what you're suffering from. So heart disease, cancers, any of the serious problems will be diagnosed at a very early stage. And when you diagnose these problems at an early stage, you can virtually cure them. Cancer of the tongue, or a cancer of the oral cavity, or a head and neck cancer, which is 30% of the cancer in India, can be diagnosed by one look at your face by the doctor, or he will just ask you to put your tongue out or show your cheek.
Yeah, hi, Shyam. Just, are you dialing in?
All these problems will be diagnosed at a very early stage and giving a hope of cure. Most of the chronic diseases like diabetes will be treated online. We have more than 10,000 diabetic patients who are treated by our diabetologists online. I'll ask you one question. There are two patients. One patient is treated physically by attending the clinic at regular intervals. Second patient is treated online. Whose blood sugar will be better controlled? You would think that the person who's visiting the doctor regularly, his blood sugar will be controlled better. No. Our study showed that the patient whose diabetes is managed online, his diabetes is better controlled than the patient who insists on the doctor's touch and going to the clinic and regularly seeing them. Because there are a lot of things we can do using a mobile phone by nudging the patient to get the blood sugar reports, getting the test done, advising them to change the dose of medicine, which cannot be done in a physical world. And other biggest problem is we have 70 million diabetics in the country. That is diagnosed diabetes. You have no idea how many are pre-diabetic or who are not diagnosed. And guess how many diabetologists we have in the country to treat those 70 million? There are less than 1,000 diabetologists. So if you really want to manage the diabetes of the whole country's population with diabetes, this is the only choice. I think I can keep talking to you till the cows come home. I think I better, it's nearing 20 minutes. I just want to end my talk saying that Uber doesn't own any cars. Facebook doesn't create any contents. Alibaba doesn't produce any stuff what they sell. and Airbnb doesn't have any hotels or the rooms. And healthcare, the largest hospital in the world, will have no beds. It will be just a simple software. Thank you so much for the opportunity.